If you're over 60 and experiencing unexplained muscle weakness, nighttime leg cramps, or feeling like your bones are becoming more fragile despite taking calcium supplements religiously, what I'm about to share could change everything you thought you knew about bone and muscle health. Because there are two minerals that most people completely ignore, and they might be even more critical than calcium itself. I'm Dr. Emily Hartman, and I've been working as an orthopedic physician for over 20 years, specializing in bone health and age-related muscle deterioration. Throughout my career, I've seen thousands of patients who did everything right, or so they thought, taking their calcium, doing their exercises, yet still experiencing devastating fractures and progressive muscle weakness. And what I discovered changed the way I approach bone and muscle health entirely. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I strongly recommend hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications so you never miss another health tip made especially for you. If you find this video helpful, please leave your questions and video suggestions in the comments. I read every single one, and it helps me create more content to help people just like you. Now, let me tell you about Mrs. Margaret Silva, a 72-year-old retired teacher from Porto Alegre. Margaret was one of the most health-conscious people I've ever met. She walked every morning, took her calcium and vitamin D supplements without fail, and ate what she believed was a perfectly balanced diet. Yet when she came to my office last year, she was devastated. She had just experienced her second fracture in 18 months, this time a wrist fracture from a simple stumble while gardening. But what really worried her were the muscle cramps that woke her up almost every night, and the growing weakness in her legs that made climbing stairs increasingly difficult. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Doctor, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. Why is my body falling apart?" That question led me to run a comprehensive panel of tests, and what we discovered changed Margaret's life. Her calcium levels were actually fine, even slightly elevated. But two other crucial minerals were drastically low: magnesium and potassium. And here's what most people don't understand. These two minerals work in harmony with calcium to build strong bones and maintain healthy muscle function. Without adequate magnesium and potassium, all that calcium you're taking might not be doing what you think it's doing. Let me explain the science in a way that makes sense. Think of your bones as a sophisticated construction project. Calcium is like the bricks. Everyone knows you need bricks to build a strong structure. But magnesium is like the mortar that holds those bricks together and the construction workers that place them correctly. Without enough magnesium, calcium cannot be properly deposited into your bones. Even worse, that calcium can end up in the wrong places, like your arteries and soft tissues, which is the last thing you want. Magnesium activates vitamin D, which is essential for calcium absorption. It also regulates parathyroid hormone, which controls how much calcium enters and leaves your bones. Studies have shown that people with higher magnesium intake have significantly better bone density and lower fracture risk, sometimes even more so than those who simply take high doses of calcium alone. But magnesium does so much more than build bones. It's involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body, including every single muscle contraction and relaxation. When your magnesium levels drop, your muscles can't relax properly. This is why magnesium deficiency causes those terrible nighttime leg cramps, muscle twitches, and that general feeling of tension that so many people over 60 experience but just accept as normal aging. It's not normal, and it doesn't have to be your reality. Now let's talk about potassium, the mineral that hardly anyone discusses when talking about bone health, but absolutely should. Potassium helps neutralize acids in your body that can leach calcium from your bones. When you don't get enough potassium, your body has to pull calcium from your bones to maintain proper pH balance in your blood. It's like your body is slowly mining your skeleton to keep other systems running. Beyond bone health, potassium is absolutely critical for muscle function and strength. It works with sodium to create the electrical charges that allow your muscles to contract. Low potassium leads to muscle weakness, fatigue, and that feeling of heaviness in your legs that makes every movement feel like a chore. Let me share another patient story that really illustrates this point. Mr. Carlos Mendez, a 68-year-old former construction worker from Sao Paulo, came to see me complaining about persistent muscle weakness and fatigue. Carlos had always been a strong, active man, proud of his physical capabilities, but over the past year, he noticed he couldn't carry his groceries like he used to. Simple tasks like getting up from a chair required effort. He told me, "Doctor, I feel like I'm trapped in an old man's body, and I don't know how I got here so fast." His wife was worried too, because Carlos had become increasingly sedentary, which was completely unlike him. After running tests, we found his potassium levels were in the low normal range, and his magnesium was definitely deficient. We worked together on a comprehensive plan to address these deficiencies through both diet and supplementation. And within 3 months, Carlos told me he felt like he had his strength back. He was back to his morning walks, working in his garden, and most importantly, he felt like himself again. Here's what's particularly concerning. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at absorbing these minerals, and many common medications actually deplete them further. Diuretics, which many people take for blood pressure or heart conditions, can significantly lower both magnesium and potassium levels. Proton pump inhibitors for acid reflux can reduce magnesium absorption. Even chronic stress depletes magnesium because your body uses it up more rapidly during stressful periods. So if you're over 60, there's a good chance you're deficient in one or both of these critical minerals, even if you think you're eating well. If you're still watching and finding this information valuable, comment below to show me you're with me. Your engagement helps me know what content is most helpful for you. Now, you might be wondering, how do you know if you're deficient in magnesium or potassium? The tricky part is that standard blood tests don't always reveal the full picture. Only about 1% of your body's magnesium is in your blood. The rest is stored in your bones, muscles, and soft tissues. So you can have normal blood levels, but still be functionally deficient. However, there are some telltale signs your body gives you. For magnesium deficiency, watch for muscle cramps, especially at night, eyelid twitches, irregular heartbeat, fatigue that doesn't improve with rest, difficulty sleeping, anxiety or irritability, and constipation. For potassium deficiency, the signs include muscle weakness, especially in your legs, fatigue and exhaustion, irregular heartbeat or palpitations, tingling or numbness, and constipation or digestive issues. Let me tell you about Mrs. Ana Cardoso, a 75-year-old retired seamstress from Belo Horizonte, who came to my office with a story that still moves me. Ana had been experiencing terrible muscle cramps for over 2 years. Every night, she would wake up multiple times with her calves seizing up in excruciating pain. She tried everything, stretching before bed, heating pads, even sleeping in unusual positions trying to prevent the cramps. She was exhausted, not just from the pain but from the chronic sleep deprivation. Her daughter brought her to see me because Ana had become depressed and withdrawn, no longer wanting to visit friends or participate in her weekly card games because she was just too tired. When I examined her medical history, I noticed she had been on a diuretic for her blood pressure for 3 years, right around when her symptoms started. Her blood tests confirmed my suspicion: very low magnesium and borderline low potassium. We worked with her cardiologist to adjust her medications and started her on appropriate supplementation. Within just 2 weeks, her cramps had reduced by 70%. Within a month, they were completely gone. When she came back for her follow-up, she hugged me and said, "Doctor, I have my life back. I didn't realize how much I had lost until I got it back." So, what should you actually eat to get more of these critical minerals? For magnesium, some of the best sources include dark leafy greens like spinach and Swiss chard, nuts and seeds, especially pumpkin seeds, almonds and cashews, legumes like black beans, chickpeas and lentils, whole grains like brown rice and quinoa, dark chocolate with at least 70% cocoa, and avocados. For potassium, focus on bananas. Yes, but they're not the highest source. sweet potatoes and regular potatoes with the skin, white beans and lima beans, spinach and other leafy greens, yogurt and milk, salmon and other fish, and oranges and orange juice. But here's something crucial that many people don't realize. The ratio between these minerals matters just as much as the absolute amounts. Your body needs magnesium to properly utilize potassium. If you're low in magnesium, taking potassium supplements alone might not be effective because your cells can't hold on to the potassium without adequate magnesium. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Similarly, calcium, magnesium, and potassium all need to be in balance. Taking high doses of calcium without adequate magnesium can actually worsen magnesium deficiency because calcium competes with magnesium for absorption. If that surprised you, wait until you hear this next part. Many people over 60 are taking calcium supplements that might be doing more harm than good. Recent research suggests that taking high doses of calcium supplements, especially without adequate magnesium and vitamin K2, may increase the risk of arterial calcification and cardiovascular problems. The calcium that's supposed to be strengthening your bones can end up calcifying your arteries instead. This is why I always emphasize getting minerals from food first whenever possible, and when supplementation is necessary, ensuring you're taking a balanced approach that includes magnesium, vitamin D, and vitamin K2 along with calcium. Let me share one more powerful story. Mr. Roberto Santos, a 65-year-old taxi driver from Rio de Janeiro, had been diagnosed with osteopenia, the precursor to osteoporosis. His doctor started him on high-dose calcium supplements, 1,200 milligrams daily. But Roberto noticed something strange. He started experiencing more muscle tension, worse sleep, and oddly, more digestive issues. When he came to see me for a second opinion, I ran a comprehensive mineral panel. His calcium was actually high normal, but his magnesium was seriously deficient. We cut his calcium supplement in half, added magnesium, ensured he was getting adequate vitamin K2 and vitamin D, and adjusted his diet to include more potassium-rich foods. 6 months later, his follow-up bone density scan showed improvement. But more importantly, Roberto felt dramatically better. His muscle tension resolved, he was sleeping through the night, and he had more energy than he'd had in years. He told me, "I thought I was just getting old and falling apart. I never imagined that taking too much of one thing and not enough of others could cause so many problems." Now, let's talk about supplementation, because I know many of you are wondering whether you should be taking these minerals in supplement form. First and foremost, I always recommend trying to get your minerals from food. Whole foods contain these minerals in forms that are easily absorbed, along with other nutrients that help with absorption and utilization. However, for many people over 60, especially those taking medications that deplete these minerals, supplementation may be necessary. If you're considering magnesium supplements, magnesium glycinate is generally the best absorbed and least likely to cause digestive upset. Magnesium citrate is also well absorbed but can have a laxative effect, which some people actually find helpful. Avoid magnesium oxide, which is poorly absorbed and mostly just passes through your system. A typical dose ranges from 300 to 400 milligrams daily, but always start low and increase gradually to avoid digestive issues. For potassium, this is where you need to be more careful. Potassium supplements are regulated differently because too much potassium too quickly can be dangerous, especially if you have kidney problems or are taking certain medications. Over-the-counter potassium supplements are limited to 99 milligrams per dose for safety reasons, which is actually quite low. This is why getting potassium from food is so important. If your doctor determines you need higher dose potassium supplementation, they'll prescribe it and monitor your levels. Never take high-dose potassium supplements without medical supervision. Something else I want to emphasize is the importance of consistency. Your body doesn't store these minerals indefinitely. You need to consume them regularly to maintain adequate levels. Think of it like filling a bathtub with a slow drain. If you only occasionally add water, the tub never fills up. You need a steady, consistent flow to maintain the right level. This is why I always tell my patients that bone and muscle health is a marathon, not a sprint. It's the daily habits and consistent nutritional choices that make the difference over time. Mrs. Lucia Ferreira, a 70-year-old retired nurse from Curitiba, perfectly demonstrates this principle. Lucia came to see me after her sister had a devastating hip fracture that left her partially disabled. Lucia was terrified of the same thing happening to her. She had decent bone density for her age, but wanted to do everything possible to maintain and improve it. We developed a comprehensive plan that included dietary changes to increase her magnesium and potassium intake, appropriate supplementation, weight-bearing exercise, and regular monitoring. But what made Lucia's story remarkable was her commitment. She didn't try to do everything perfectly overnight. Instead, she made small, sustainable changes and stuck with them. She added a handful of nuts to her morning routine. She started eating a sweet potato or banana with lunch. She took her magnesium supplement with dinner every single night. 3 years later, her bone density has not only remained stable, but actually improved, which is quite unusual for a woman in her 70s. More importantly, she's strong, active, and confident in her body. She volunteers at a local school, plays with her grandchildren, and lives without the fear that dominated her when I first met her. Here's something that might surprise you. Exercise plays a crucial role in how your body uses these minerals. Weight-bearing exercise and resistance training don't just build muscle and bone directly, they also improve your body's ability to absorb and utilize minerals. When you exercise, you create positive stress on your bones that signals them to become stronger. But they can only respond to that signal if they have the building blocks they need, including calcium, magnesium, and potassium. Exercise also improves circulation, which helps deliver these nutrients to your bones and muscles more efficiently. So if you're taking supplements or eating all the right foods but living a completely sedentary lifestyle, you're not getting the full benefit. I want to talk about something that many people overlook: the connection between stress and mineral depletion. Chronic stress is incredibly common in people over 60, whether it's from health concerns, financial worries, family responsibilities, or just the accumulated stress of daily life. What most people don't realize is that stress actively depletes magnesium from your body. When you're stressed, your body releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones trigger your cells to release magnesium into your bloodstream, which then gets excreted through your urine. The more stressed you are, the more magnesium you lose. This creates a vicious cycle because magnesium deficiency itself can make you more anxious and less able to handle stress. You end up in a downward spiral where stress depletes magnesium, which makes you more stressed, which depletes more magnesium. Breaking this cycle requires both addressing the magnesium deficiency and finding healthy ways to manage stress. Mrs. Helena Ramos, a 69-year-old widow from Fortaleza, experienced this firsthand. After her husband passed away 2 years ago, Helena went through a period of intense grief and stress. She developed terrible insomnia, constant muscle tension, and what she described as a feeling of being perpetually on edge. She went to several doctors who offered her sleeping pills and anxiety medication, which she tried but didn't like how they made her feel. When she finally came to see me, I noticed something in her health history. She mentioned that she used to have occasional leg cramps, but in the past 2 years, they had become almost nightly. She also mentioned heart palpitations that her cardiologist had checked and found nothing wrong with. These symptoms pointed me toward magnesium deficiency. We ran tests, and sure enough, her magnesium was very low. We started supplementation and also worked on stress management techniques, including gentle yoga, meditation, and regular walks in nature. Helena told me that within 3 weeks, she noticed a difference. The muscle tension started to ease. Her sleep began to improve. The palpitations became less frequent. After 2 months, she said she felt like a fog had lifted. She was still grieving her husband, but she felt more capable of handling her emotions and moving forward with her life. Now, I want to address a common concern I hear from patients. Many people worry about taking too many supplements or consuming too much of certain minerals. This is a valid concern, and it's one of the reasons why I always recommend working with a healthcare provider who can monitor your levels and adjust your plan as needed. For most people, getting these minerals from food is safe and self-regulating. Your body is remarkably good at taking what it needs from food and eliminating the excess. Supplements require more caution, especially potassium, because they deliver concentrated doses that can overwhelm your body's regulatory mechanisms if not used appropriately. This is particularly important if you have kidney disease, as your kidneys may not be able to eliminate excess minerals efficiently. Another critical aspect I need to mention is hydration. Many people over 60 don't drink enough water, and this can significantly impact how your body handles minerals. Dehydration can lead to electrolyte imbalances and make existing mineral deficiencies worse. When you're dehydrated, your kidneys try to conserve water by concentrating your urine, which can also cause you to retain or lose minerals inappropriately. Additionally, many older adults take diuretics for blood pressure or heart conditions, which increase fluid loss and can exacerbate dehydration and mineral depletion. I always tell my patients to aim for at least 8 glasses of water daily, more if they're active or in hot weather. If plain water is difficult, herbal teas, coconut water, which is actually rich in potassium, and water-rich fruits and vegetables all count toward your hydration goals. I also want to discuss the impact of digestive health on mineral absorption. As we age, our digestive system becomes less efficient. Many people over 60 have lower stomach acid production, which is necessary for absorbing minerals like magnesium. Others deal with conditions like irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease, or simply chronic constipation, all of which can interfere with nutrient absorption. If you have digestive issues, you might be eating all the right foods and taking appropriate supplements, but still not absorbing the minerals your body needs. This is another reason why working with a healthcare provider is so important. They can help identify and address underlying digestive issues that might be sabotaging your efforts to improve your mineral status. Mr. João Oliveira, a 73-year-old retired accountant from Recife, came to me with what seemed like an impossible puzzle. He was doing everything right, eating a nutrient-rich diet, taking high-quality supplements, exercising regularly, yet his magnesium levels remained stubbornly low, and he continued to experience muscle cramps and fatigue. After extensive discussion, I learned that João had been taking a proton pump inhibitor for acid reflux for over 5 years. These medications significantly reduce stomach acid, which can impair the absorption of many nutrients, including magnesium. We worked with his gastroenterologist to wean him off the PPI and address his reflux through dietary changes and other strategies. Within 3 months of stopping the medication and allowing his stomach acid production to normalize, João's magnesium levels finally started to rise, and his symptoms began to improve. It was a powerful reminder that sometimes the solution isn't just about adding more nutrients, but about removing obstacles to absorption. Let me share one final story that brings all of this together. Mr. Fernando Costa, a 78-year-old retired engineer from Salvador, came to my office last year after his second fall in 3 months. The first fall resulted in a fractured rib, and the second gave him a severe bruise and shook his confidence completely. Fernando had always been independent and active, but after these falls, he became afraid to leave his house alone. His children were considering assisted living because they were so worried about him. When I evaluated Fernando, his bone density was concerning but not terrible for his age. What really stood out was his severe muscle weakness and poor balance. His blood work revealed deficiencies in both magnesium and potassium, and his vitamin D was also quite low. We developed a comprehensive plan that addressed all of these issues along with a physical therapy program to work on his strength and balance. The transformation was remarkable. Within 4 months, Fernando's strength had improved significantly. His balance was better. He was walking confidently again. His children canceled their plans for assisted living because Fernando was doing so well. When I saw him at his 6-month follow-up, he told me something that stuck with me. He said, "Doctor, I had resigned myself to being old and frail. I thought that was just my fate. I never imagined that something as simple as the right nutrients and some exercise could give me back my independence." So, what should you do with all this information? First, take an honest look at your diet. Are you consistently eating foods rich in magnesium and potassium? If not, start making small changes to include more of these nutrient-dense foods. Second, if you're experiencing any of the symptoms I mentioned, muscle cramps, weakness, fatigue, poor sleep, talk to your healthcare provider about checking your mineral levels. Don't just accept these symptoms as normal aging. Third, if you're taking calcium supplements, make sure you're also addressing magnesium, vitamin D, and vitamin K2. Taking calcium in isolation may not be the best approach and could potentially cause problems. Fourth, stay active with both weight-bearing exercise and resistance training appropriate for your fitness level. Your bones and muscles need that physical stimulus to stay strong. Finally, be consistent. Building and maintaining strong bones and muscles is a long-term commitment, but it's one of the most important investments you can make in your health and independence. Remember, your body is incredibly resilient and capable of healing and strengthening at any age when given the right support. You don't have to accept weakness, frailty, or constant pain as inevitable parts of aging. By understanding the critical roles that magnesium and potassium play alongside calcium, and by taking consistent action to ensure you're getting adequate amounts of all three, you can maintain your strength, independence, and quality of life for years to come. If you found this information helpful, please share it with someone who might benefit from it. And remember, always consult with your healthcare provider before making significant changes to your supplement routine, or if you're experiencing concerning symptoms. Your doctor can help you develop a personalized plan that takes into account your individual health status, medications, and needs. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.